Another great service that courts can provide virtually is language interpretation. Locating and then scheduling interpreters for in-person courtroom hearings and negotiations is often very difficult and costly. This is especially difficult in big counties where cases often get reset or delayed or even physically moved to another building. And in rural areas, the cost of travel is often prohibitive as well. But fortunately, Zoom technology has an excellent interpreter feature. Zoom technology allows for multiple separate interpreter channels to be accessed in order to enhance simultaneous interpretation in multiple languages. It's amazing. And it even makes hearings go faster because courts don't have to pause in order not to speak over the interpreter. Now, many of you are familiar with the voice of our great interpreter, Maria de Villiers, one of the excellent interpreters there at the Office of Court Administration. Today, we're going to get to see her in person, and we prepared a demonstration of the amazing interpretation service available through Zoom. After that, Maria is going to offer us a brief explanation of the Language Access Department at the Office of Court Administration. All right, everyone, good afternoon again. We're going to have a short demonstration here of our interpretation service. First of all, I'm going to share my screen and show you how to set up a meeting. So as the judge, when I'm scheduling a meeting, I've already logged into my Zoom account, and I can click on this tab here that says Schedule a Meeting. I'm going to call this meeting Interpreter Demo, and I'm not going to change the date and time for the purpose of this particular hearing. I'm just going to scroll to the bottom and show you that at the very bottom there's a section titled Interpretation. When I click in this box, it pops up some other areas that need to be filled in. So I've checked Enable Language Interpretation. For today, I'm going to put in Maria's email address, and it pre-fills for me. And I'm going to show that she's going to be translating from English, and I can choose she'll be translating into Spanish. Here in this section, I could add another interpreter for another language. I don't need to do that for this hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and click Save. So my meeting is ready to go. I'm going to stop sharing there and go ahead and show you what we would do as we start the hearing and start the interpretation during an actual hearing. Generally, when I click on the interpretation box, a different screen is going to pop up, and I'm going to show you that at this time. This is the screen that would pop up generally. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you actually live how to do it, but I'll tell you that in this section, Maria's address is blacked out. I would delete that and actually put her name in. We see that she's going to be translating from English into Spanish. Down at the bottom, I could add another interpreter at that time if I needed to, but in fact, what I would do is click Start. Once I click Start, we're ready to go, and there's Maria on the screen with us. Down at the bottom in the tray is a box entitled Interpretation with a globe. When I click on that, it's going to automatically be pre-filled off. I'm going to need to select English generally, and however, for today's purposes for our recording, in just a second, I'm going to click Spanish, and Milbury Rainey from the Children's Commission is going to take off and give us our demonstration of the interpretation. Milbury?
Thank you, Judge.
En las últimas semanas, el panorama de los sistemas de asistencia social y legal a menores ha cambiado dramáticamente en respuesta a la emergencia por el COVID-19. Ambos sistemas han expandido la forma en que las personas participan en planificación de casos, visitas familiares de convivencia y procesos judiciales con el fin de asegurar un continuo acceso a la justicia, a la seguridad y a las relaciones familiares. Las ramificaciones de esta pandemia se sentirán a lo largo de muchos años venideros y en formas que aún no son evidentes. Good afternoon. This demo is concluded now. Let me address you for a few minutes. You have just witnessed a short sample of simultaneous interpretation. Interpreting from a source language into a target language, either in the consecutive mode or simultaneous mode as you just witnessed, is quite a specialized skill that licensed court interpreters are able to achieve after passing stringent oral written testing developed by the National Center for State Courts and given by the Judicial Branch Certification Commission. which is the governing entity that regulates all interpreters. Now, let me share something quite interesting with you. As of 2019, the population in our state was estimated in about 29 million Texans. It is claimed that 1 in every 6 Texans do not read, write, speak, and understand the English language, which gives us roughly about 4.5 million individuals with limited English proficiency. Now, whenever any of these Texans walks into your courtrooms for their day in court, you will need an interpreter to bridge the gap in communication, to allow dialogue among all parties, to make possible the full participation of this limited English proficient individual in his case before the court. And thus, through the interpreter, he's allowed due process of law and equal access to justice. Simply put, access to language is access to justice. The Texas Office of Court Administration implemented the Language Access Program in January of 2014 under the Research and Court Services Division. This program is known as the Texas Court Remote Interpreter Service. It's referred to as TCRIS because of its acronym. And it offers our Texas courts free remote interpreter services in short, non-contested, non-evidentiary hearings of 30 minutes and up to 45 minutes in length, but no more than that. In child protection courts, our program can easily assist you with interpretations in emergency hearings, as long as the offender is not present, status hearings, first and subsequent permanency hearings, final agreed orders, and permanency hearings after final order. Currently, I am one of 2 licensed court interpreters, and my colleague Leonard Perales and I proudly serve our Texas courts since 2014 to this day. In this COVID-19 emergency, we are assisting our courts not only with Zoom, but also with other video conferencing systems, platforms such as Cisco, LifeSize, Skype, Teams, and WebEx, according to how our courts request these services. For more detailed information on our language interpretation services or any other language resources, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are easily found at the phone number 512-463-5656. Again, 512-463-5656. Or you can mail us at interpreter@txcourts.gov. Again, interpreter@txcourts.gov. And we will gladly assist you in anything that you may be needing. That's all for me today. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time. See you later.
Well, wasn't it great to get to see Maria? She's wonderful. And I know we all agree how fortunate that we are to have Maria and Leo working for us on our behalf over at OCA, helping us all achieve permanency for kids. And of course, we know even before virtual hearings were allowed, it was possible for a parent and their attorney to go into an actual breakout room, not a virtual breakout room, but a real one inside of the courtroom, and use the remote interpreter service there by phone. One of the cases that I had that I wanted to mention about up in McCullough County, right in the middle of a permanency hearing, father decided to relinquish his rights. He decided to do so. Everyone agreed. He was a Spanish speaker. And so we took a break, and he and his attorney were able to go into a breakout room, call Maria on the phone, talk through everything, take the time that they needed to do so, save everyone time and money, but also get to permanency a lot faster. So Maria is a real jewel for us. Judge Villallon, I think you wanted to tell us about how that service is working down in your court.
Yes. Well, down in the Valley, we have quite a few Spanish speakers, Spanish-only speakers that participate in our cases. We've actually, as a result of Zoom, it was the first time we were able to use the OCA service for interpretation, going through both Maria and Leo, and it has worked extremely well. The interpretation feature, once it's engaged, provides minimal disruption for your hearings. You do hear some responses, but it usually is at 20%. and they're able to ask you questions, not just remain silent there. And so it does provide a form of justice for them because they can actually converse with a court. So it's very helpful. In one case, just to share a story, it's a closed case, so I can share this. We had a parent who was in Mexico. And that's difficult enough to get a parent to participate and having to come across a bridge. And so she was able to participate from Matamoros, Mexico, which is just down the road a bit. And her kids were in care, and there had been a family separation, and she had been deported and was not able to see her kids. But she did everything. We had a hearing. We were able to address all the DIF information that was provided to us by DIF and ask mom direct questions about how she's doing, where she's living. And she was able to see her children on the screen, relieving a lot of tension. And we were able to reunify, something that we wouldn't have been able to do in the past because we wouldn't have been able to get that participation. So I'm very grateful for the fact that we have Zoom now, especially in cases where we have folks who are not in this country.
Well, that is a great story. I'm glad you mentioned it about the 20 and 80%. We could hear Milbury barely speaking at 20% because we were on the Spanish station. But then, of course, we could hear Maria about 80%. Obviously, if you're on the English station, you're only going to hear Maria at about 20%. I haven't been able to participate in a hearing yet where we have 2 interpreters, but I think that'd be fun to watch. If any of you out there have such a hearing where you're going to use 2 different interpreters, please let us know, and everybody watching will log into your YouTube channel and see how it goes. So Judge DiGirolamo, I think you were going to tell us about workarounds, even when you couldn't use Zoom or virtual hearings, how the interpreter service could be of assistance. Go ahead.
Well, I think the service you've just described is wonderful and has been very beneficial for me in my court, but I've had a couple of issues that have arisen because it's only available if the person calling in has a video feed, and you can make all of those choices to designate the interpreter for Spanish to English and proceed the way that you did. But I've had multiple cases in which a person who spoke Spanish, notably an incarcerated individual who only spoke Spanish and who could only participate by phone, was still able to have those court interpretation services offered. And in one case, it required simply interpreting as you would in any other court proceeding, which you can do. You just need to designate enough time to allow the interpreter to interpret in that way. And then in another case, the interpreter was provided the party's phone number. That interpreter called that individual directly and interpreted in live time on her own phone and participated in that way. And in both cases, we were able to successfully resolve the hearing, and the full benefit and participation of that Spanish-speaking individual was ensured.